Welcome back to Trinidad and Tobago. We're continuing our discussion with the U.S. Ambassador John Estrada. He served as one of the highest-ranking officers enlisted in the U.S. Marine from 2003 to 2007 during the heights of the conflict with Iraq and Afghanistan. From 2001 to 2003, he served as Sergeant Major of the 3rd Marine Aircraft Wing. Ambassador, you know, it's interesting that you come from a military background, and at this time, we have the controversial SSA bill that continues public discourse. You know, in the U.S., no one is accused of Big Brother state intervention more than the U.S., really. And there's always a fear of too much state intervention. You had that landmark case recently with Apple and the U.S. Supreme Court. And as big as the U.S. government is and as big as the security agency was, they were not able to get the vote in their favor. More and more, the courts frown on government intervention, and you know that. But the government says that they need to do it. How do we find a balance? Is there a balance?
There is a balance. I think the debate that's going on in your country right now, we had that debate in our country, and it will continue for a while. There has to be a balance. For the protection of all of us citizens worldwide, you need to have some sort of balance. So I had mentioned something on the bill a few days ago, and some took it as me endorsing the bill.
Yeah. Did you endorse the bill?
Did I endorse the bill? I commented on, there was a rigorous debate in your democracy, very healthy democracy, and this bill was passed. And I basically said you have to work within a legal framework. And some countries, most countries will have to adjust their legal framework a little bit to deal with the current threat. And there is a current threat. And you will have to adjust that some. I looked at it as a step forward in Trinidad and Tobago trying to find that medium.
Do you think, you know, it's funny, some of the concerns that are raised was the appointment of the director, which is a political appointment. The government maintains that there are enough checks and balances through the parliamentary system. In the U.S., the head of the CIA is appointed by the president. Is that enough to assure the citizens that there will be no political interference, that we're not creating super spy agencies?
I would prefer not to weigh in on that one at all. This is something that's still being discussed within your country, so I prefer to stand by on the side and watch that one.
You know, people believe that the right to privacy should be jealously guarded. I was actually commenting on Barbara Burke's position. She is a product of the 1970s movement where they fought against oppression or fought against state intervention. The government of the days has to face the reality that an imminent threat, the world has changed since 9/11. What do you tell the citizens to understand that, but still get trust in government? Because people don't trust the government. Nowhere they trust governments.
Nowhere. And experience in the U.S., we had a couple presidential candidates that's no longer running. They blocked a lot of measures in our Congress. I think the privacy issue is a real issue. I strongly support people having their privacy protected in some ways, but there's got to be that happy medium somewhere, whatever that is. And I think that's up for the government and people in Trinidad and Tobago to figure out what that is.
Now, you know, the issue of visas. Ambassador, you can't sit on a set without us bringing up the issue of visas. Why is it so hard to get a U.S. visa?
I'm glad you brought that question up. Yes, I hear it all the time, and it is not hard to get a visa. I would like to put some data out here. 80% of the folks that apply for visas here in Trinidad and Tobago get approved. That's a high rate, 80% of them. Just a 20% denial rate. And they could always come back and apply, so it's not that difficult. And the issue on paying a fee in regards to applying for visas around the world, everyone has to pay a fee to apply for visa, and that goes into, again, for the people that's doing the work, the equipment, the whole process.
What is the most common reason for rejection?
What is the most common reason for rejection? The most common reason for rejection is that folks cannot give a really good reason why they want to go to the U.S. They're like no relatives. They don't have the funds to basically support themselves if they come to the U.S. So that's it.
So you don't think that there is unusually high number of rejections?
No.
Of frivolous reasons that are put forward for the rejection?
No, not at all. 80% are approved. And since I've been here in Trinidad and Tobago, I personally, because I heard about it all the way back in the U.S., I have personally went out and walked the line outside with folks waiting to come in to get their visas. I've spoken to them sitting inside of the building waiting to get, and I have observed my interviewers interviewing families or individuals wanting to come to the United States. And I think the process is a fairly good process.
Now, it's an interesting time in the U.S. I'm talking about race relations in the U.S. And you have from Trayvon Martin come straight back to the hashtag Black Lives Matter campaign. All of this is happening while Barack Obama sits as president, when it was heralded as one of the greatest movements to change race relations in the country. Why are race relations deteriorating in the U.S.?
I do not think race relation is deteriorating in the U.S. I lived there. I've seen it. I did not live too far from where Trayvon Martin got killed at the time. I was living in Orlando, Florida, and it was just up the road in Sanford. So it has not deteriorated. I think what you have seen is a few isolated cases. We have issues like most countries around the world, and we have to deal with them. And we are very open in the United States that yes, we have a problem, and we're gonna deal with it. We're gonna work on it. So I don't think it has deteriorated. I think again you have the small group like anywhere in the world.
You do have a percentage of the population that believes that Black Americans are being targeted by the law enforcement.
They do believe that's true. There are some that believe that, and I could share experience where I felt I had been profiled, and until they found out who I was. It has happened, but like anything else, any organization, the police, whatever, you have a small percentage that will do wrong, and they just tarnish the reputation of the 99.09% of folks that are doing the right thing.
I want to ask quickly about the perception of corruption in Trinidad and Tobago and our trade and investment. Does the level of corruption, perception of the level of corruption in Trinidad and Tobago worry U.S. investors?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. It does worry U.S. investors, and I think as I follow your politics here in your government has admitted that they do have a corruption problem here also. So it does worry some, yes.
And then what are we going to do about it? Are investors saying that they don't want to invest in our country? Are they pulling out? What are we going to do about it?
They're not pulling out. We continue to work with your government and the companies here to address that issue. So it's an ongoing process, but they are not pulling out, and there may be a little skepticism. And we want them to come here, and we are actively encouraging U.S. investors to come here.
Are they excited to come here?
They are, so yes.
In terms of the crime situation, you're a military man. Do we need more military intervention to solve crime in our country?
I visited your military yesterday. I had a great visit. You have one of the best defense forces in the region, the Caribbean region, so I enjoyed my visit, the professionalism. And one of the questions that always comes up anywhere around the world when you have your military out on the streets, it's usually not a good thing. I know your government is working and addressing the issue. The problem is building capacity with the police.
Yes.
The military is helping address an immediate need right now, and I'm sure.
Should we have more military on the streets?
Should you have? That's a problem for your government and people to decide.
10 seconds. Closing comments, Ambassador.
You have a rigorous democracy here. There are a lot of issues that we are interested in, human rights issues. One of them I want to talk about. President Obama made a statement that child marriages is a fundamental threat to human rights for kids.
It is.
Yes.
And I strongly endorse that. I think you can tell that. Have a wonderful day, Trinidad and Tobago, and we will see you tomorrow. Bye.